Welcome back to Nick's Bricks. I'm Nick, and today we continue our Monster Fighters series review with set number 9466, The Crazy Scientist and His Monster. With 414 pieces, The Crazy Scientist and His Monster take the 5th rank of our series partometer. The set features returning and new minifigures, as well as another vehicle. The set also includes the first structural build of the series, which sets the standard for the theme's decaying look and build techniques. To begin, let's have a look at the included vehicle, the Buggy. The Buggy is a base model vehicle that has been modified, increasing its speed, enabling its use of scanning equipment, and giving it an array of firepower. The Buggy's unique shape and medium blue color scheme make it a standout amongst the vehicles of the Monster Fighters series, as well as other LEGO themes. 4 thin wheels carry the chassis, with the back quarter panels extending over the rear wheels, and already we're seeing our first modification. The Buggy's first form of weaponry comes as a flick-fire missile mounted on its lower side. More on this later. The curves and shape are what makes the Buggy so distinct, and these details begin with the front fenders, which are made using curved top arches, providing smooth round features. These details continue with the hood, which uses a triple curved wedge. Headlights protrude from the gaps between the hood and fenders, flanking the grille. Below is the front bumper, complete with license plate made from a sticker. The license plate reads AC9466, referencing the set number. I couldn't find if AC had any meaning, so if you know, please share in the comments below. The rear includes the bumper with taillights, and the trunk, which maintains the vehicle's shape using a series of curved slope pieces and a handle at its center. The trunk leads to the tall angled rear window. The Buggy has been modified with a pair of thrusters on the rear fenders shooting exhaust flames to the back, increasing the vehicle's speed. Moving to the cab, we find a spacious 6-stud wide interior with matching windshield and centered steering wheel. The interior includes a play feature. The flick-fire missile at the, we'll call it passenger side, is built on 2 axles. Moving to the driver's side, we'll find a Technic lift arm and rubber connector holding the 2 axles. Pushing the connectors on the driver's side extends the axles on the passenger side, moving the missile into its launch position. The flick-fire missile is threaded through an axle pin, which pivots to aim the projectile. The roof is the most heavily modified section of the Buggy. At the front, a small satellite dish connects via clip and bar handle, allowing vertical pivoting. The driver's side includes a pivoting Technic arm, which holds 2 additional flick-fire missiles. The top and side missiles hold the trans-neon green cones, indicating the heads deploy an incapacitating gas upon impact. The second missile holds LEGO's light bulb piece in trans-dark blue. This missile head emits an electromagnetic pulse upon impact, damaging electronic gadgets and devices in its range. In front of the missile tube is a compartment holding 2 dark red cones representing concussive missile heads, the same as we saw on Frank Rock's fanboat. At the rear passenger side of the roof is a basic seat where the operator of the missile launcher is stationed, and the roof, only being held by studs at the windshield, can be easily removed to better access the cab. Major Quinton Steele and Dr. Rodney Rathbone are included in the set, making their second appearance in the series. The instructions direct us to place the Major on the roof and Dr. Rathbone at the driver's seat, but this seems a little off. We'll come back to this, but for now, let's have a look at the Crazy Scientist. The Crazy Scientist is an evil genius. While not a monster in the traditional way, the Crazy Scientist entered the monster realm to conduct his dark experiments that were forbidden in the lands of man. The Crazy Scientist wears a Victorian lab coat with black pants and black gloves. A brown utility belt with silver buckle is worn above the waist and holds a corked beaker containing green fluid and a pair of jagged medical shears. At the rear, the utility belt continues with 2 additional corked beakers and a pair of forceps. The Crazy Scientist's hair is a tangled light bluish-gray spike-top piece, which is made from a flexible rubber material similar to Ann Lee's hairpiece. The head print includes the Crazy Scientist's elaborate safety goggles, which include offset lens sizes, surgical loops, and dials which adjust the tint. The whole ordeal is held to the Crazy Scientist's head by a brown leather strap. Below the goggles, the Crazy Scientist has bushy black eyebrows and a pencil mustache. The first of the dual face prints shows an expression of annoyed focus. The alternate print shows the left lens of the goggles with a red tint and a monstrous smile as though his dark experiment was a success. Crazy Scientist indeed. On one of his ventures into the monster realm, the Crazy Scientist discovered an abandoned, decaying structure ideal for his experiments. He began bringing supplies and setting up equipment, establishing his laboratory. In the dark, dank laboratory, the Crazy Scientist conducts his experiments, designs his schematics, and builds his dark inventions. The lab consists of 3 sections. The first is a prison cell, where the Crazy Scientist keeps his spare parts. Removing the center section of the lab to get a better look, the cell is built on a 10x10 octagonal plate, which is the standard for most structural builds in the Monster Fighter series. The use of octagonal plates allows individual structures of a build to be offset from one another, and these askew layouts add to the disorienting architecture of the monster realm. Scurrying along the front of the cell are a few critters, including a rat and green frog. A large spider has made its way up the outer side wall of the cell. The cell is built with a barred door, which pivots open when unlocked, barred windows on each side wall, and closing off the rear of the cell is a large panel with a loose chain. More on this later. On the top of the cell is a battlement with parapets, which show the disrepair of the laboratory using masonry and palisade bricks. Built at the center of the cell's battlement is a small catapult with a stash of ammunition in 3 trans-neon green round bricks. Similar to flick-fire missiles, the small catapult is human-powered. With a round brick loaded, we tap the lever end, raising the bucket and launching the brick. Similar to the flick-fire missile heads on the buggy, the trans-neon green ammunition represents gas canisters with a Crazy Scientist fending off trespassers using toxic fumes. The cell also includes a play feature. Swinging around to the back, we'll see the rear wall's single panel piece with a chain connected at its top right. When the chain is pulled, the panel dislodges, freeing any captives in the cell. The panel is held in place by 3 jumpers, minimizing its connection points, allowing an easy, clean break. The idea is Major Quentin Steele gets captured and imprisoned in the Crazy Scientist jail. Dr. Rodney Rathbone connects the chain on the back wall to the buggy. When the buggy accelerates, the wall is pulled away and Major Steele escapes. The next section of the lab is the workbench, which connects to the cell by swivel hinge bricks. The hinge allows a slight pivot, but is more intended to hold the 2 segments at an angle. The long surface runs along what was once a full wall and has now deteriorated into a crumbling half wall. A spider web connects at the rear, giving further depth to the segment. Beginning on the left, a bone hangs on the wall, providing the Crazy Scientist with marrow samples. Next, we have a skull in the clear dome of a machine that seems to be taking readings as displayed on the gauge below. Next, a large wrench hangs on the wall. The common tool seems out of place next to the previous organic materials. Continuing on, we have an empty microscope, and at the end of the workbench is a capped bottle made with cone and jewel elements in trans red. And finally, LEGO's Erlenmeyer flask. The end of the workbench leads us to the tower, the last segment of the laboratory. This tall structure is also held at an angle by a swivel hinge brick and houses and powers the Crazy Scientist's invention. Beginning at the top, we have another battlement with parapets in disarray. Occupying the battlement is a long antenna and electrical transformers wildly casting bolts. To the sides are a pair of medieval torches illuminating the laboratory below. Quite the contrasting technology. Below the torches are a pair of support scaffolds which the crazy scientist installed for both structural support and to help guide the massive flow of electrical current from the conductors above. Here in the laboratory of the monster realm, the crazy scientist has built an instrument used to revive slain creatures by blasting them with a beam of energy that triggers organ functionality and brain activity. The revival machine rests on two pillars. The rear pillar is centered in the tower and runs to the top, feeding the electrical current from the equipment on the battlement to a power cell and onto the machine. The front pillar houses a control station with red and yellow levers at its base and supports most of the weight of the revival machine. The revival machine itself includes rotating knobs on both sides to adjust the intensity of the beam, an inverted radar dish and bar to focus the beam, and a sticker on the top. The sticker shows a round screen frequency meter at the top, 3 red switches at the bottom, loose wires on the sides, and the primary handle lever. The tower includes an additional play feature. At its back, we'll find an axle and gear. When we rotate the gear, the machine is activated, releasing a brilliant red light. The machine's build is based around LEGO's 2x3 light brick. Removing the machine to get a better look at the rear, the trigger is complete with a red 2x2 round bottom plate. To activate the machine, we need only press the big, shiny, red button. Returning the machine to its position, it's held in place by a 2x2 hinge on a hinge brick and 2x3 grilled slopes, keeping it stationary and at a downward angle. Returning the previously removed section, we have the operating table. Connecting to the front pillar by an axle piece, the operating table is built on a sliding mechanism with a rail and channel at the rear and Technic gears and racks at the front. When we rotate the bar hub, the operating table slides smoothly over the tiles at its base, moving into position under the crazy scientist's revival machine. As for the occupant of the operating table, let's have a look at the crazy scientist's monster. The monster was created by the crazy scientists using parts from the deceased and given life by the revival machine. The monster's similarities to zombies is limited to only its physical attributes, and the brute strength of this composite monster exceeds even Lord Vampires. The monster wears a brown jacket which shows stitch mendings over a shirt that looks to be an amalgamation of a few different garments sewn together. The low neckline of the shirt shows the top of the monster's green-skinned chest with a line of metal clips holding together an incision. Brown pants complete the outfit. The rear printing shows the jacket vent and back of the collar in light brown. Further mending of the jacket shows with stitches and a patch. Similar to the swamp creature, the monster uses a printed head with headgear adding dimension to the features. The face print shows the monster's open mouth with a few missing teeth, loose olive green skin hangs off the cheekbones, and black eyes. Transitioning to the headgear, a line of stitches crosses the extended forehead, which leads to a flat top of the head covered with thick black hair. The large black eyebrows give the monster an angry, yelling expression. When we remove the headgear, the printing underneath shows exaggerated eyebrows and a look of sadness in the eyes of the monster, turning his angry yell into a sad, desperate cry. The biggest difference between the crazy scientist's monster and the zombies of the monster realm is that the monster has a personality and consciousness of its actions, making the monster reluctant to carry out its creator's bidding. This disobedience requires the crazy scientist to keep a close, strict eye on the monster, which brings up the age-old question, who is the real monster? The Crazy Scientist's revival machine requires a large source of energy, and when you can't rely on a lightning storm, a moonstone is the best power source in the monster realm. The Crazy Scientist's moonstone uses the transgreen stepped rock piece with a jagged forked lightning bolt printed in white. The moonstone's placement at the center of the electrical conductors on the tower's battlement is part of the play feature. Rotating the gear to activate the revival machine's light brick also rotates the axle which holds the moonstone. The glow-in-the-dark pieces include the skull, which is technically set exclusive, having only been included in the 2013 employee-exclusive set, A Lego Christmas Tale. The glowing rat is series exclusive, so we will be seeing it again in later reviews. And finally, the glowing spider appears in multiple Monster Fighters sets, polybags, and promotional items, and is almost series exclusive, having only been included in one other set, 79001, Escape from Mirkwood Spiders from LEGO's Hobbit series. The white spiderweb and bone add to the lab's eeriness under UV light, along with the trans-neon green machinery and trans-orange torches. The trans-neon green heads of the buggy's flick fire missiles illuminate under UV light, and speaking of the buggy, while the instructions direct us to place Dr. Rathbone and Major Steel into the buggy, the style and almost cartoonish modifications pair far better with the Crazy Scientist and his monster. With the Crazy Scientist being the true owner of the vehicle, he uses his mad intellect to apply useful but silly-looking additions to the modest car model. A genius on a budget. The Crazy Scientist and his monster seem a bit better fit for the buggy, which means Dr. Rathbone stole the Crazy Scientist car, using it to spring Major Steel from the laboratory's cell, adding insult to Grand Theft Auto and assisting in an escape. When Lord Vampire arrives, he assures the Crazy Scientist that his twisted experiments and diabolical research will not only continue, but thrive in the new Dark World. While the Crazy Scientist may be hesitant to part ways with his moonstone, he ultimately caves and hands it over to Lord Vampire. So Lord Vampire collects his 5th moonstone from the Crazy Scientist and his monster. With the new moonstone placed into the Eclipse machine, only one empty slot remains. Dr. Rathbone and Major Steel return to the Monster Fighters, again empty-handed. With Lord Vampire only one moonstone away from realizing his dark vision, the heroes' backs are up against the wall. Our next review of the Monster Fighter series is The Zombies. The set introduces the last Monster Fighter, features the most intriguing vehicle of the Monster Fighters fleet, and introduces one of the highest sought-after minifigures in the series, so don't miss out. Until then, this has been Nick with Nick's Bricks. Thank you for watching, and remember, build, disassemble, repeat.